ownership. Thank you for this great opportunity to speak to you today. Today's message will be coming to you from moments of my private inspiration. As I speak here, I also realize that some of you may not feel well today. We all have aches and pains that we accept as a part of our daily routine. It reminds me that I sometimes have a bad knee, a bad back, a bad toe, and occasionally a bad attitude. But when someone greater is in control, I must continue with God's message with the conviction and determination that only He can instill in me. You see, it's like this. Jesus knows of our aches and pains as well. In life, always remember, responsibility takes precedent over aches and pains. Don't allow anyone's weakness to get in the way of you speaking of His greatness. I start today by telling you a story of a very, very rich man. Although he was rich, he was a sort of lonely man that traveled the world in search of happiness. He traveled to Europe, Africa, China, and many other places searching for happiness, companionship, and friendship. After his long journey of traveling, searching to find the answer, he returned home a sad, lonely, and depressed man. I hope that's not you today. Some of you may be sad, lonely, confused, depressed, or you may know someone who's feeling that way. You or they may be searching for happiness in the wrong places. I also know of a very poor man. The poor man didn't own but a few pair of pants, a couple of shirts. His bank account totaled the maximum amount of coins that his banking jar could hold. Although the poor man never left his hometown to go to any other places, he was happy, he was very compassionate, and he seemed to have a little light burning inside of him. He was a man that smiled all the time. You see, the rich man traveled the world in search of happiness, but the poor man never left his hometown and lived in happiness. You see, the key to the rich man's sadness was not in the distance that he traveled, but in the distance that he did not travel. The key to the poor man's happiness wasn't in the distance that he didn't travel, but it was in the distance that he did travel. You see, the poor man's knees traveled 24 inches to the floor and he found a lifetime of happiness. His knees traveled to the floor and he gained the world. The short distance from your knees traveling to the floor, you too can gain happiness. I hope that be you today. You see, the poor man was rich and the rich man was poor. The poor rich man, he owned his salvation, while the rich poor man, he only rented his salvation. I ask you today, are you an owner of your salvation or are you a renter of your salvation? Sometimes the rent-to-own method is good for buying worldly things, but not when it comes to your salvation. I ask you again, are you an owner of your salvation or a renter? If you know you're an owner, you can praise Him right now and lift your hands up high to the sky and thank Jesus that you are. But renters, if you're a renter of your salvation, then go to the closet and bend your knees and ask Jesus to save you. If you want to do that right now, I got time. Ask Jesus to grant you the ownership papers of your salvation. Some sitting here today have pain in your life because of a lack of exercise, a lack of bending, a lack of praying, a lack of serving Him, a lack of living by His rules. Your salvation has nothing to do with living a perfect life, but consistent moments of bending your knees, moments of prayer and serving humanity, and consistency to His Word. God will reward you. Let me say that again. Your salvation has nothing to do with you living a perfect life, but consistent moments of bending your knees, moments of prayer, serving humanity, and consistency to His Word is the key. You see, life is full of tests. You will be tested, but today I must remind you that the greatest test grader will judge your answers. Jesus will be the scantron that will grade your answers and that will grade your life. Test day. Today is test day, a day for all to be tested, with bitter words and angers of life that struggle to be digested. Fear of the unknown will test each and every heart. Today's test will never determine the one who's really smart. Your test today to survive and understand and determine the key. I must know who I am and not allow bitterness to change me. The test of distraction will include anger and hate. Stay in check today. In me, the key, I must lock my faith. Your test today to checkmate who you are. Determination, understanding, and surviving creates a star. Tested with death, lunacy, and life's other dirty tricks. The tests include maximum guilt, maximum filth to maximize the sick. Remember, today is only a test of faith that will never last. You pass the test by surviving, smiling, and even laughing at your tested past. Today, God has many messages for you, but the main message is about having ownership of your salvation. Don't run away because you're not perfect. Run to Him because He is perfect. He's perfect for you. He's perfect for your children. He's perfect. He's perfect for all your problems. He is the fixer. He is the answer. Talk to you later. God bless you today.